Hello and welcome to episode 17 of Stay on Target, GamesRadar Plus's weekly look at a galaxy far, far away. This week we're going to take a look at everything we know so far about The Force Awakens. With me today are Dave Bradley, Supreme Leader of SFX and Total Film, and Jordan Farley of SFX. I'm Richard Edwards, I'm the editor of SFX magazine. Now, there was a massive news overload last week, so from D23, so now we're going to just compile all the stuff we know. Now, the big thing we know is that the Empire is now being sort of subsumed by the First Order and the Republic. Sorry, the Resistance. Rebellion has become the Republic. The new Republic became the Resistance. Sorry, it gets very confusing. Too many words beginning with RE. And we know that there's this battle at Jakku.
Yes,
which has left this Star Destroyer.
Yeah, we presume this takes place shortly after the Battle of Endor, like the big final battle between the Empire and the Rebellion.
Sort of X-wing trash there. So yeah, the Jakku's this sort of ship's graveyard. So I presume that's all because of this battle.
Yeah, and that's what we're supposed to assume, isn't it? I mean, it's also. It's just an iconic visual. You can sort of imagine that maybe this is what we want to do. We want to have all this and then went sort of
this came first.
Yeah, this came.
We just want to have a big Star Destroyer.
The visual came first.
Yeah,
that's exactly. But that's all we know about it at the moment. They've been very tight-lipped about what happens between the end of Return of the Jedi and this. Although, of course, we've got Chuck Wendig's Aftermath coming out soon, which hopefully will write this exact.
Well, I think that might be a little bit before this.
Right. Okay. Right.
But yeah, there's a key thing here that's after the Death Star. And what the Empire and the Republic do next. But also, we don't really know what Han, Luke, and Leia have been doing. I mean, we know that they're
procreating.
Maybe that might be important.
Or maybe they're estranged.
Yes. Well,
good point.
You never know.
And it looked like Luke might be living by himself with a droid.
Almost certainly, I would think. Seems to be a recluse if I'm reading into that trailer correctly, but who knows?
Lone Jedi. Now, First Order. They've obviously got mostly Imperial hardware, stormtroopers, TIE fighters, and we think this might be Starkiller Base, which is the name of their. We know that's the name of their HQ, which is riffing off the original name of Luke Skywalker.
This is from the released international trailer, right? So this is
the
Korean trailer. That's right. Yeah, which is essentially the same image that we saw in the trailer from a few months ago, but flips are looking out from Kylo Ren's point of view over the assembled First Order, right?
Yeah, and I think in the front there that might be General Hux, the character.
Right.
And there you can see Captain Phasma's back.
Yeah.
Obviously talking because we know that the boss is Supreme Leader Snoke, which is a Andy Serkis character.
Right.
Yeah. Do we know he's the boss? Of the
I'm sure Supreme Leader would seem to imply so.
It seems to imply, but we don't know for sure.
No, that's a fair point.
Let's call him that.
Yeah. He's one of the good guys. Yeah.
Also, you look at their logos. That's very simple. So, I mean, I assume that this is someone who's seen some bits of the Empire and thought, "I'll have that for myself."
Yeah. Or like the Imperial remnant rebuilt itself. That's that kind of thing.
I guess what surprises me a little bit about the First Order is just how strong it seems to be. Like you'd think that at this point, 30 years after the destruction of the second Death Star, that they would just be like tattered remnants scattered about the galaxy. But they actually seem like a formidable force.
And also the term resistance actually feels it feels smaller than rebellion.
They're back on the back foot.
Exactly.
Really
I mean, it's almost like by 1975, the Nazi party still having some huge army somewhere.
It'd be interesting to see how that happens, how it gets to this point.
Right. Now, if I'm not much mistaken, I remember reading somewhere that Kylo Ren, the character, that Ren is a title like Darth, right?
He's picked that up later on. He's one of the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, which sort of implies that there's also some kind of organisation a little bit like that.
Also, J.J. Abrams has hinted that he's a bit of a Darth Vader fanboy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So there's no coincidence that his mask looks quite Darth Vader-y and his lightsaber is handmade. That's why it's so sort of shaggy and
I wonder if the Knights of Ren are basically like Sith fanboys, if they're all kind of obsessed with this dark art.
Yeah.
Because everybody, I think, will know about Darth Vader and what happened to him by the time it gets to that point, and the Emperor. So. And J.J. Abrams was very keen to emphasise as well that he thinks he's doing the right thing. He might almost be a dark Luke Skywalker coming in and leading the way. And then of course there's Captain Phasma, who just looks awesome. So I imagine that she's kind of the enforcer.
Yeah, that's what they say. Interestingly, I think the thing about creating a shiny chrome character little bit cyan
Shiny
on,
chrome, yeah.
but a little bit thing about creating a shiny chrome character is that the toys will have to either be shiny or not. I don't know. Did you see all those leaked toy things?
Yeah.
Good. The Captain Phasma toy is actually kind of grey.
Yeah, I was slightly disappointed by that.
Chrome
But
paint
also,
is a
if
bit
you
too
look at
expensive.
it does look like she's got fingerprints all over her suit. She doesn't look like that clean.
Grubby.
Yeah.
It's battle hardened.
Now, onto the goodies. Well, we're presuming they're goodies. We've got Finn here, who is a stormtrooper. He's not, which implies there's no clones, or stormtroopers are people.
Yep.
And we think as well that he steals this TIE fighter and he basically defects and ends up on Jakku, which seems to be really important.
And we also know, thanks to the Drew Struzan poser, that he's probably a Jedi as well.
Yes.
Or at the very least, he picks up a lightsaber at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely, because we see him holding that, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, actually, this is a moment to talk about those TIE fighters as well. I mean, we can sort of piece together that at some point he's going to have a change of heart, steal a TIE fighter and fly down to Jakku and crash, because that seems to be what you can see in the trailer. But talking about that not only from the toys, but also from what we've seen in these pictures, the TIE fighters and the X-Wings, I love them. I think they're great, and they're just a tiny little bit twisted away from where we're familiar with them, right? Because these ones are darker in colour.
I think that's just really clever. They feel like just natural evolutions of what we've seen before.
Well, it's clever in that they're all familiar to those of us who love that, but also they can sell new toys because they're
exactly. But I think the new Stormtroopers look ace.
They do.
They
do. Unlike the leap kind of from the prequels to the original trilogy, where you just couldn't like link any of the ships to anything that came in the future.
And also the clone troopers didn't ever look right.
Yeah, exactly.
They were too fussy. And now here's Rey, who he's going to meet on some point at Jakku, Daisy Ridley character. Now we know that she's a gatherer. She basically looks scavenging for stuff on Jakku. And it's also, I think it's quite important that J.J. Abrams has said there is a reason we don't know their surnames.
Definitely.
So possibly they might be Solos or Skywalkers.
I'd be very surprised if they're not related to someone very important.
Well, the way that we've seen Han Solo and Rey together quite a few times in pictures does imply that there might be some familiar connection. And this poster as well, I think the fact that we only get Han Solo of the original cast here suggests that he's got a bigger role than the others. And the rumours are that Luke Skywalker's very much someone who you find and he sort of comes into it.
Same with Leia, I think, smaller role.
I think Leia's kind of just high up in the Resistance. And also we think that she sends out this guy. Who has hinted that he is sent on a mission to Jakku by Princess Leia as Poe Dameron, #1 X-wing pilot.
You can see his X-wing in the background there, black and orange, very cool.
Black and orange.
And a gonk droid.
Yes, awesome.
Power droids.
Now, also interestingly, he said that when he goes to Jakku, his fate is changed forever. Oscar Isaac said of his character.
Right.
Now, could that mean he's turned to the dark side? Or?
No.
Could be. I mean, it seems like they're setting up Finn, Rey, and Poe as kind of the trifecta, the Han, Leia, Luke trifecta. So, I mean, it'd be an interesting twist if one of them did end up turning to the dark side.
Now here we see Rey on Jakku with scavenging, I assume, or someone who's already scavenged BB-8, the famous droid. Now, do we think that BB-8 is Poe Dameron's droid from his X-wing?
Looks like it, doesn't it? I mean, there's been a fair few pictures and like the Lego boxes and things like that where you can actually see BB-8 in the back of Poe Dameron's X-wing. So it seemed likely.
So that presumably they've redesigned the X-wings to make that fit, because that doesn't fit in an R2-D2 slot. Also, C-3PO and R2-D2 back because it's Star Wars.
So
R2-D2 we've seen in a trailer with a guy with a robot hand who would be very surprised isn't Luke. Now, the interesting thing about 3PO here is that red arm. Now, is it just that he needed a spare part, or could he be something to do with the First Order? Because there are some TIE Fighters shots where we've actually seen that sort of red side to them.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? He's also got good form at falling down and losing bits of himself.
Yeah,
he has.
Exactly.
Also, you wouldn't want him working for you because he's a blabber. I mean, frankly. So there. Okay. We'll just put them on now because it just makes us feel at home. But there are a couple of other characters who we don't know really that much about. There's Maz Kanata, who is Lupita Nyong'o's
right,
character.
and she said that we almost certainly won't see the whole character until the film. Right, she said there won't be any shots of her before then.
Yeah, she's mocap.
Yeah, so entirely motion captured. We think that she might be handing over that lightsaber in the trailer to Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Sort of small cattish creature.
Yeah. It sounds like the discovery of Luke's lightsaber is also kind of a catalyst for this story as well.
Right. Yeah. She's
that's Luke Skywalker, Luke's lightsaber from Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
the one he lost in Bespin.
Yeah. We're assuming that Maz is basically a gangster hot star.
Well, she's a pirate and she has a castle.
Yeah. Wow.
full of weird and wacky creatures.
So she's this franchise's Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
Now, there's also one of the main cast who we know even less about, and that's Max von Sydow.
Yes,
We don't know who he's playing.
Nope.
I mean, he's got to be a baddie, right?
You would think, but who knows? I mean, I think of him as kind of a Christopher Lee kind of figure, just in terms of film. So maybe it makes sense for him to be playing.
You're right. You say that, but then Alec Guinness, you know, he could have been. Is that kind of statesman-like actor? He could be fulfilling that kind of role because there's you know, the Star Wars universe has always, from George Lucas's vision, had that sort of mentor figure in it. I mean, maybe we're assuming it's going to be Luke or one of the old cast.
Or maybe he's mentoring Kylo Ren.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Could be one of the Knights of Ren.
Yeah. I was there when Darth Vader did the things he did. Yeah.
Either way, you'd expect him to be someone important, because
Yeah.
otherwise, why do you cast Max von Sydow?
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Now, we sort of gathered all this information, but in terms of the plot, they've kept it all pretty much under wraps. We haven't really had a trailer that's kind of hinted at any story, have we?
No, J.J. Abrams is a master of cutting together trailers that can make us all excited about individual moments, but having no clue about what the overall plot of it all is.
Definitely. And it feels to me like everything we've seen so far could well be from like the first 20 minutes.
Right.
Like the rest of the film could just be, you know, there could be like 80 minutes of stuff that we haven't even had a single glimpse at yet.
Yeah.
I mean, this is in quite an unusual position in that it has to start everything back up again, because Jedi kind of wraps things up, and it's got to you've got to know very quickly what's been happening.
Yeah.
And also get all these wheels back in motion.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if the emergence of the First Order is going to be a surprise to Resistance, or if it's good, they're just going to say it's established that this force still exists in the galaxy and there's a Resistance now.
I mean, you know, they've got a few seconds at the beginning of a opening title crawl, which they must do to keep on the tradition, that could just it will just tell us what's going on.
It's going to be weird though with the Disney logo in front of it rather than the Fox fanfare.
Absolutely,
Very
Yeah,
strange.
it's going to be strange, yeah.
But John Williams is back though for the score, which is
Absolutely,
going to help.
Yeah,
Definitely.
But also, I think J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan, his fellow screenwriter, have said they really want to keep this brief. They don't want to go into a sort of 2.5-hour movie, which I think is promising. I mean, the original movies do trip along pretty well.
Yeah, I think someone spoke to him at D23 and he said that the current cut's like 124 minutes, which makes it the joint second shortest Star Wars film with Empire.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive.
Well, if you're going to follow anything, follow Empire Strikes Back, which is generally a rule for life, I think. Okay, we'll be back next week to talk more Star Wars, but in the meantime, may the Force be with you.